trying to get your attention. You make me nervous. In the corner of my best friend's sofa, you were getting buzzed on rum and cola. Wasn't brave enough yet just to talk to you. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Pretty obvious from the minute that I met you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. There we go. There's some levels. Hi, how are you? June 26, 2021. Hi, I'm Dave Wilber. My friends call me the Turfgrass Zealot. Hello, and how are you? Say, it's an interesting time, isn't it? Summertime in the world. So many things going on. So many good things going on. Hello, I see some people starting to arrive in the live feed, and that's good. So we'll just kind of drift along here and let that happen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. And I'm glad that you're joining me. I actually have a collared shirt on today. Somebody was teasing me about that the other day. Wilber, do you have collared shirts? Yeah, tons of them. Don't we all in our business? Collared shirts. I know it's not as popular as it used to be, but I have quite the collection of wind shirts. I used to talk about the turf head wind shirt balls, you know, in the evenings. You know, everybody's wearing a wind shirt when you go to the dance, right? Do people even have those anymore? Do we wear them? How about wind vests? I got a few of those. Saved my life a few times. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing good. Summertime is a trick, isn't it? It's always a trick. I mean, I'm checking out weather, you know, around the world. And I don't know, I'm kind of a weather buff. I think part of that comes from being a pilot, and of course most of it comes from being a turf head. We sure get into the weather, don't we? I always want to know what's going on, but last night in my world, we got rain, and it rained for most of the night, which is pretty unusual here for Denver. I don't know what the count is because my rain gauge is not up. I know, that's bad. I'm sure I'll get any of you guys watching from Colorado. Good morning, Justin Woodland, Agronomist, one of my favorite people in the world, who's doing some of the greatest work in the world in the Salt Lake area. Hi, boss. How are you? It's good to see you here. I'm fascinated with Justin Woodland. If you've never heard Justin's podcast with me and that stuff on TurfNet, and I think you did an Earthworks episode as well, Justin. Oh my gosh, what a great guy. Like, you know, if I wanted to like, if you just wanted to pick a place on the map and go somewhere, right? And assure yourself that you're going to have a good time. And I don't mean just like, you know, a raucous good time or whatever, but I'm just saying somebody who knows how to meet people, somebody knows how to engage with the world everywhere he goes, man. Justin Woodland, fantastic human. There's never a moment when he doesn't do cool stuff, you know, in everything. I'm in awe of the guy, really. I wish I had as much of that energy. I have it in some ways, but his projects very well. Hello and welcome on in. I see people coming in. This is great. So what is the Turfgrass Zealot project all about? So what I did is I asked some people in my world, some random people. So if you didn't get this questionnaire or whatever, don't worry about it. You count, you matter, right? You matter. But I just asked some random people, like, are you checking this out? If not, why? If you are, what's up? All that stuff, right? Just figuring it out. What is the Turfgrass Zealot project all about? A couple of people asked me, and it's like, well, the Turfgrass Zealot project, started out as a podcast that I was doing with TurfNet, and I love TurfNet, by the way, and that's another question that I've gotten a couple of people, are you ever going to do TurfNet stuff? Of course. If Peter McCormick asks me, if the gang from TurfNet asks me, I'll do anything. They're just, it's just amazing folks. I wanted to kind of roll into my own production thing here. And I think it's hard for me when I'm doing stuff for other people because I feel the pressure of the deadline. My brain goes blank. I remember years ago, I was writing a monthly column for Golfdom, and I would go, God, it was, everybody says, oh, you should be a writer, right? And then I would be, I'd be 2 weeks from deadline. Okay, I got this. I know what I'm going to write about. And then it'd be a week from deadline. Okay, I got to do this. And then my mind would go blank, and I'd spend the next week, closing my head in the car door, trying to figure out, what to do, right? What to write about. And then it would be down to the wire. And then I'd miss the deadline, and their editorial people would be mad at me for good reason, And I think all of us have experienced that in one way or another. I mean, you guys that have to write the thing for the monthly newsletter at the club, right? My playlist is just playing randomly, so who knows what we're gonna get this morning. I'll turn that one down a little bit. It's a little too electronic for me this early. But anyway, it's like it doesn't always come to me, on everybody else's schedule. So I had the idea that I would start to make my own production thing. I wanted to incorporate video. I wanted to get it on YouTube. I'm gonna take these things because there's not much to watch here. It's just me. I'll take these and I'll throw them into podcast format, and we can put them, wherever. And I wanted turf heads to be able to listen to this on their devices, whatever it may be. Some people have told me that they can't, like if they have their phone in their pocket, YouTube doesn't just keep running. Mine does. And I guess that's because I have what is it? I pay for the YouTube premium thing or whatever, because I don't want to watch ads. So I guess if you don't, then it won't run in the background, but you can just let it run. I mean, I don't know. We're going to work out all this stuff. I mean, I'm doing this all by myself. I have me, myself, and I as a production team here. And as I sit here and look, I have 3 computers and 6 monitors running around me, trying to get all this kind of together. I know it seems weird, doesn't it? It seems like a lot, but it all kind of funnels into one place. So I just wanted to be able to do this thing where I turned on the mics, turned on the cameras, and hung out with you guys a little bit. I don't have any big time agenda. I'm not really necessarily looking to to change the world or whatever. I would love it if you guys would like these things and hit the subscribe thing and the notifications, because what that does is it keys in the YouTube algorithm. And once we get up to about 1,000 followers, it also keys in some possible financial things for me, which is good. I'm self-financing this, and there's, that's a big deal. And as I've said before, we're looking for unique sponsors, on a per episode basis. So if you're watching and your company is doing something cool, I would love to incorporate in what I'm doing. And, I'm hip to that, right? So these are all the things that we're doing. So the Turfgrass Zealot project is, basically is a podcast. It's my video podcast. And a lot of my friends in the gaming world and stuff, they podcast with the cameras on. Joe Rogan does it, all that stuff. I don't know that I'll ever get to Joe Rogan status, but that's because I'm not going to have people on that talk about mushrooms and all that stuff. And that's the other thing, guests. I probably will do the guest thing. Not everybody on the guest thing is going to be able to video up like I'm doing, although Zoom kind of works. I don't love how it ports into the rest of my stuff. So we may or may not have guests. I don't know. There's a few people that I really want to have conversations with, but I don't want to repeat what everybody else is doing. Right. I love being unique. I love being ahead of the curve, you know? So, there's nothing wrong with the podcast, and there's some great podcasts. I've been on, you know, some of the best ones with Earthworks, and Kevin Hicks and Joel Simmons have wrung me out. You know, we're going to talk about that in a minute, and it's been great to be a guest, and I can see why they want to interview so many people. And I just was starting to listen to them talking to Troy Flanagan, you know, about the Women's Open, the great successes there. I love it. I can't wait to listen. I'm going to listen today while I'm doing other things. So, you know, I'm a big fan of podcasts. I'm a big fan of podcast guests. I just wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to kind of get some social stuff in here. I wanted to get some education stuff in. I wanted to maybe get some mental health stuff going, all those things, right? So I have this kind of list. It's over here on my, I don't know. I don't think you guys can see it. Let's see if I can bring you in. No, that's the wrong display. I don't know if I can do it from this angle, but at any rate, I have, you know, I have a list, you know, it's not really an outline. It's not really a script. It's just kind of, here's what I want to touch on. And sometimes I get through all of it and sometimes I don't. So, it's kind of cool, right? What if I go here and then I can show you guys what it looks like over here? Yeah, so I've got my control panel up, and then I've got, you know, this is my thing, right? I got, you know, it's pretty, you know, it's pretty basic. We're not talking Tucker Carlson here, and I like it that way. So there it is. I've got chat up this morning, and if any of you guys want to hit me up in chat, again, the chat is here for you guys to ask me anything, and to be part of this if you want to be part of it. I'm not bothered by the interruptions at all. In fact, I would love the interaction. So, you know, the ask from me is hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And, you know, feel free to say hello in chat or say something, you know. I mean, I keep hearing from supers, well, I'm not going to put myself out there. Okay. All right. Don't talk to me about putting yourself out there. I'm doing it, you know, in big ways all the time. So I don't really have a lot of sympathy for you know, hiding in the shadows, right? All right, let's talk about what's gone on in the last week or so. And again, I'm seeing people drift into the live feed, which I love. And I can't see who's here specifically unless you chat, but I can sort of see numbers, and I know there's a little bit of analytics running on my right side. And I can't really show you that, but it's there. You know, the other thing I wanted to do was just put some good background music in my world, but the problem with that is copyright. I have to follow the copyright laws of YouTube and the world, which I actually believe in as a musician and stuff. You know, your stuff can't get stolen, right? If it's going to get used, yeah, you got to get paid. That's all there is to it. So I'm real hip to the DMCA and copyright laws, and I'm being very careful about it. YouTube will smash me on the head. They will whack-a-mole me if I get that wrong. So there's a lot to think about there. The other thing is when I first started out with this, I was sharing some videos and doing some stuff from some other places. I can share some YouTube things if I do what's called fair use, which means that I comment on it and I have my camera there and stuff. But I shared some PGA Tour stuff and everything, and I got copyright struck for it. And then I had to write a justification. Hey, you know, this is a news thing. This is what I'm doing, you know, and it's a lot of back and forth, you know, and at first I was mad at the tour and tour productions, you know, for copyright striking me, but it's really their robots that do it. You know, they're spiders that do it. And then, you know, and then when real people get involved and they look and stuff, and it's like, oh man, I don't want to be part of it. So I'm not showing a bunch of video and stuff. Occasionally we'll do something funny if I see something that really tickles me pink on YouTube. You know, we'll do that because I want to be unique and different. Okay, so we've got music, we've got, you know, sharing whatever, we've got maybe guests, but usually not guests. It's kind of a monologue. It's something that you can listen to without really necessarily watching. For instance, I'm going to talk about water quality today. but I'm not going to have a bunch of charts and graphs. So I'm not going to put up the PowerPoint presentation. I can do that really easy here. And maybe we might put up one, I don't know. But I just, again, I want this to be friendly while you guys have this in your ears while you're doing your work, doing your thing, right? That's really the important part. Okay, so enough of that. That's, what is the Turfgrass Zealot project all about? That's what it's all about. Okay, second question that came to me this week was how did this Turfgrass Zealot thing come on? And it really came on, it was just kind of a joke. A few of us were sitting in a bar one time at the National, the GIS now. We used to call it the National, us those guys. And somebody was saying, God, Wilber, you're kind of a zealot about all this stuff. I was all passionate and beating on the table about something. You're a zealot. And that kind of stuck, the Turfgrass Zealot. So I've monikered that and branded that or whatever and used it in various ways. And there it is. I don't know. I mean, it's me, right? It's always me. So I think, it's just some branding, and I'm not really that worried about branding. Okay. The next question that I've got is, turf head. The word turf head keeps coming back to you. This person said, when I investigate turf head, it seems like things come back to you. Why? Again, this goes back to the GIS years ago. Tom Mead, many of you may know Tom Mead. You may know that name. Tom is retired, but at the time, Tom was working with Tom Doak. Tom is a Michigan State graduate, and he was superintendent for some time at Crystal Downs, and lived and worked in Traverse City. During the time that I met him, he was working for Tom Doak, and he and I spent a lot of time talking about grass, talking about agronomy. We worked out a lot of things together for Pacific Dunes, the Apache Stronghold. What else did Tom and I work on together? And a thousand other phone calls where we just were of like mind. I just found somebody who was very like-minded, and it was nice because I was younger and I was still, I was still getting some sand kicked in my face, and me didn't care. He was just great about that. So Tom and I were sitting in a bar. We were sitting with Gary Grandstaff, a few other people, just some architect types. Bruce Hepner was there. I don't know. We're just hanging out. And Tom said, we were talking about somebody, we're gossiping, like the junior high girls that we are. And Tom said, yeah, that guy's a real turf head. And I was like, huh? And he says, like the Jimmy Buffett thing, like parrot heads, turf heads. They're turf heads. I call them turf heads. And it just stuck, right? So Mead said that, and then we would laugh about it and stuff. So I started using the word turf head, to mean somebody who's kind of, geeking out on whatever it is that we're doing, right? And I used it in some writing, and I used it in some stuff, and it started to catch on, and people started to talk about it. And now, I don't know, we have the turf head tasting team. When we talk about beers and stuff, that's a hashtag. And, I got a thing the other day from, Turf Heads Grilling was a hashtag that the Aqua Aid people used for a promotional deal. I thought that was kind of cool. And they actually sent me one of those pins, which is cool. So Turf Head, started getting used all over. Did I come up with it? No. Tom Mead was the first one I heard about it. Did Mead come up with it? Yeah, I asked him that one time, and he said, I don't know. I just said it. And I've actually had a lot of people tell me that they don't like it. That it's, that it's down in the trenches with the whole, Carl Spackler Caddyshack thing. Turf head, right? That's not cool. And then I would say turf head, turf monkey, things like that. Just being funny. And, some people took offense to it. Some people still do. I used to start my podcasts on TurfNet. Hey, turf heads, turf monkeys. And people were some people wrote me and said, I don't like that. Don't do that. It makes me cringe. It's cringy. And I'm like, I think you need to lighten up, bro. And that was my thing. So anyway, turf head is a term of endearment. It's something I use. Somebody wrote me once, I'm not going to say who, and said, hey, I want to register some domain names around the word turf head. Is that going to bother you? I'm like, why would it fucking bother me? I don't understand. But anyway, that was a weird exchange. Marketing people, trying to be marketing people, not turfgrass people. Like, well, you'll never be one, so I guess you can do whatever you want, And it's really, for me, a term of endearment. Yeah, that guy's a real turf head. Yeah. That woman's a real turf head. She's got a green thumb. This is me being politically correct, by the way. So I say guy all the time. In fact, when I give live talks, I tell everybody, I say this word guys. I see a great number of females sitting in the audience, and I will try my hardest. It's just one of those things. Hey, you guys do this. You guys do that. I mean, I did it when I had, female staff members on my crew. I guess at 55, some things are hard to change. I'm 55 years old now. I can't believe that. I started working on the golf course when I was 15. It's 40 years ago. God, that seems forever, like a lifetime. And, my body feels it. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So, okay, other questions and comments. I got a lot of people reacted to the last Turfgrass Zealot project vidcast, my last week's cast. Was it last week? Yeah. And so it would have been the 19th, the June 19th issue. And it was, I talked a lot about labor, and I skipped across a lot of things. And I didn't want to pull any wind out of some people like Tyler Bloom. I mentioned Tyler, they're really working that angle, and it's their whole world is becoming their livelihood. And I love that, right? I wasn't trying to steal anything from that or whatever, but it was just something I wanted to kind of talk about. I wanted to rant about. And I cut some clips off and used them in some various ways on Twitter. And some people, again, took some offense and wrote me. And, it's so funny how people will, they'll write me because I don't know what they think. It's like, oh, well, it's already done and out there. But I guess some folks were like, hey, don't go after my general manager, my golf pro. I mean, I'm trying to get them to be my ally. So, okay, I get it. I'm not going after anybody. I'm just saying, and was saying in those short bits that we have to look at things through different eyes. And part of that starts with, getting everybody who's associated with your golf facility to look at your staff and look at everybody through different eyes. So that's what we're talking about. And that's what that was about. I love that the labor conversation is going on. And received several phone calls from friends who were like, Dave, you're talking about this, and it's just such a big conversation, and it has a lot of tentacles, it has a lot of different ways through it. And I'm like, yeah, of course it does. I mean, it's got a huge impact. But I think the bottom line really with all of that is that golf greenkeeping, let's say, because I got some feedback from, around the world, not just the US, that we've been underpaying our staffs and getting away with it. And that's not going to be the case. And we're not going to be able to do that. We have to, pony up for what it really costs to run the golf course, which in turn means that we have to stop giving away our product so much. Now, I know that's a little tougher in the private club scene, but in any form of public golf, we have been really silly and bad about discounting our product, which if you read some Harvard School of Business things and things like that, that's the last thing you want to do. Create value, add value, all that sort of stuff, but don't discount, because you're never going to be able to climb the prices back up, right? We have to. A lot of our facilities during the dark days of National Golf Foundation belief, when we were building these places, they were performing at some pretty crazy green fee type numbers or revenue type numbers or whatever it is. Hey, we're going to depend on corporate outings. That doesn't happen as much anymore. All that stuff, right? But there were some really big numbers on the spreadsheet as far as what we're going to bring in every day. And when that started not happening, everybody went to the golf course superintendent because it's a cost center, right? Golf course maintenance is this cost center, and everybody said, hey, give us money, right? And what can you do to cut back? You need to cut back. And there wasn't a lot of talk about, well, why are you guys giving away the product? Why is it that you're okay now with charging $40 a round when we're performing at 75? why do we discount that deeply? Why do we have Twilight Golf? Why do we have all this stuff where people can get, they're not necessarily getting value. They're essentially getting our product for free. It's a huge mistake that we made in the business, that the business of golf made, the business of public resort, any kind of fee oriented golf made. And a lot of, a lot of private clubs, they figured it out quicker. And actually some of them that are thriving now, that are doing really well, they raised the rates. They said, hey, we're going to, if we want to keep this thing private, we got to pay for it. We got to pay for it. So, for some years now, golf has been getting away with cheap labor. And we can't do that, y'all. We just can't do that. We're not going to sustain ourselves. We always talk about sustainable. I love that word sustainable in so many different ways, but from a business standpoint, we can't, we can't spend money on frivolous things, at our courses and clubs to quote unquote attract people, and part of attraction sometimes people think is, lowering the price. It's a bad spin cycle, and it's cost golf a lot. And now what we have is a bunch of golf course superintendents who, they're heroes, right? I'm a hero. I'm going to get it done. Yes, Mr. General Manager. Yes, Mr. Owner. Yes, I'll get it done. We'll figure it out, right? Because that's what golf course superintendents do. We figure it out. That's what turf heads do. Let's use the word. And then, and everybody says, oh, well, that's working pretty good. And meanwhile, the golf course superintendent knows that there's, hours after hours of work every week that's not getting done. And I'm not talking about this kind of race to keep up with the Joneses. That's not it. The keep up with the Joneses thing is, I got to have flashier stuff on my, flashier turfgrass, flashier greens, flashier all that. There's a segment of our world that does that, but I think that is changing. I think a lot of people have talked about it. Geez, Tom Doak's talked. A lot of people have talked about, this idea that superintendents sometimes just create more work than they need to. I don't see a lot of that like I used to. I see a lot of people doing a lot with less, and I see a lot of really, like almost scared of their shadows kind of things where, in fact, I spoke to a superintendent the other day. We were talking about his situation, and I'm like, you've got to write this up, bro. You got to get this together. And he said, well, will you help me? Of course I will help you. That's what I'm here to do. We'll do that. Right. And we worked out a few hours of my office time, and I wrote him some stuff. Easy. Right. So, a few $100 that he can spend, to do some good. And that will, that communication is designed not just to go to the one, to the one GM, but like to a bunch of influential members and, a committee member, who reports to the board in this particular say, we do that, right? It's good. So there it is. I just wanted to touch on the labor thing a little bit and say that I think the point of all that was to say we've been getting away with it, and we can't get away with it any longer. And you guys, who are resisting, to try to go to war for your staff, to pay them better. And I'm talking about all your staff, equipment managers, everybody, assistants, second assistants, whatever. You've got to go to war for this, and you got to go to war for it with your, with your tools, your communication in hand. And you've got to say, hey, listen, we can't, we can't do it like this anymore. I gave and I gave and I gave, and now there's no more blood in this turnip, and it's time for us to step it up. And while now some of these clubs and some of these places are starting to, the revenue's back, right? COVID is over, the revenue's back, everybody's out playing golf. And even during COVID, golf courses, a lot of them did really well in the public sector. And that money went to all kinds of weird stuff. I don't get it. People been, squeezing blood out of their golf course superintendents, squeezing money out of their budgets. And then when things are starting to get good, that money never comes back. Right. So, you've got to go get it, and you got to go work for it. And, that's communications, and I'm big on that. So anyway, that's why I was getting into all that. Long story short, or short story long, but So we're having a heat wave in the Western United States. Certainly it's not happening where I'm sitting right now, but other places. Spoke to a superintendent in the Seattle area the other day, and he's like, we've never seen this. Whole damn West Coast is going to be on fire. And before you guys make any California jokes or any of that sort of stuff, which I hate, by the way, because I lived in Northern California a long time and I loved it there. And I didn't live, well, I lived near Sacramento, which is kind of a big city in the state capital. But this whole, when I hear California and stuff like that, you haven't seen the ranches and the farms and the cool, amazing heart and soul people, that make up most of the state of California. So please be careful with that. What goes on in San Francisco and LA often controls a lot of things, but it is not who those people are. So careful with that. But I don't wish anything bad, but I'll tell you something. Those guys are so out of water there. I mean, watching the reservoirs and the things that we used to depend on and the conversations and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I can't believe the pictures that I'm seeing. A friend who's wants to be a pro bass fisherman sent me a picture the other day. Well, I think he does fish in pro tournaments and stuff. And he's like, they can't get their boats in the water in a couple of places because there's no water. It's sad, And that's not from mismanagement or government's mismanagement or anything. There's just, there's nothing coming out of the sky to fill these things up. Just basics. And, it's a huge impact. So I feel bad for the West Coast, and I feel bad for, pieces of the Western United States. And then I see some nutty weather, man. And like I said, I like to watch the weather. I like to study the weather. I like to get into that. Kevin Breen years ago, Kevin, a lot of people don't know this. Kevin has a meteorology degree, right? Kevin, who's, rising to the very top of GCSA leadership. Kevin's one of the smartest weather people. In fact, a lot of times when I would go visit Kevin, we would sit and talk about weather and meteorology, and the things that he would show me and the things that he can talk about were phenomenally fascinating. I think he thought it was geek stuff, but I love it. So anyway, Kevin and I would talk about weather a lot, and stuff. I've been meaning to call him and get his take on, on some of this. No, I'm not going to go near climate change and all that. We're not talking about that today. I just, and you know how it is when you're a golf course superintendent, when you're a turf head, you take it as it comes, right? And you try to predict and, get ahead of it somehow, try to win. It's quite a heat wave. All right. I'm looking at chat, and you guys, a lot of you are watching a little bit behind the thing here, but again, if you want to put something in the chat, somebody said the other day they didn't know how to open the chat window, and I think there's some icons. Just click around a little bit. It'll come open. You don't have to see as much as me. If the chat window covers my pretty face, it's okay. So we are doing the Ask Me Anything thing today. All right, let's get into another super huge topic that is going to affect us all. We're about a little more than halfway through our time today, trying to keep these at an hour. I don't want to, but I'm trying to, just for the sake of a lot of things production wise. But so I'm going to stay on task. I've had a ton of conversations with suppliers, people in the supply business. I have some friends in not turf area things that are involved in logistics. Because I have a fascination for logistics and transportation. Did you guys know that? Like, that's one of my geek things. Like, I'm fascinated by how things get from A to B in our world. And let me tell you right now, things are not getting from A to B like they should. Shipping, waterway shipping, okay, is a giant mess. Some of it started with the Suez Canal thing. I mean, that really messed up some stuff. That piece of the world has to flow, and it didn't for a while. Other things are just based on, some real simple factors like containers. When you haul a container full one direction, the idea is to fill it up and take it back the other direction. Right? Simple. Well, a lot of times, and think about this, when we're importing a ton of goods and not exporting a lot of things, what do you end up with? A glut of containers sitting around. And there's factors and numbers and math around that whole thing. Well, what's happened is containers are a mess right now. They're sitting in places they shouldn't be. They're available in different ways. Shipping is a mess. I read the other day that the ships lining up in the bay near the port of Oakland, there's actually so many, they're just not getting them unloaded, as fast as they should, because there's so many, and there's a huge container storage issue. There's logistics around all that. The Coast Guard is actually asking ships not even to come into the bay, for a bit. And I think that's going on in LA, at San Pedro and Long Beach and those places. It's not my everyday world, but I just tap into a few sources. So getting products from A to B. Some of you know that I got involved in live plant transport, and I was learning about transportation of live plants and things like that, nursery plants and all that. And in order to do that, I went clear to the bottom, because it's my belief. Mark Parsonen, Kingsbarns and Castle Stewart genius, who's sadly no longer with us, told me a long time ago when I was a young consultant. He said, if you're going to be a great consultant, and that's how he made his bones. That's how he really made his world work before he was in the golf business. Mark told me that the only way that you can learn and really understand the businesses that you're consulting with is you have to know them from the very bottom up. And he told me a couple of stories about where if he was hired to work with a company, he would go and say, hey, I want to learn how to run that machine that, builds that thing, that does that thing. He was telling me about, one of his clients was Winchell's Donuts. They were trying to figure out the marketing for Winchell's Donuts. And he actually became really good at making donuts. It sounds silly, but he needed to understand, right? And he says, this is how you do it. Okay. This is how you get great. And I really took that to heart. And he was saying to me, you have that, right? Because you started in the business at the very bottom. So as far as golf and golf maintenance and golf construction and all that sort of stuff, you got a real thing there. But he said, as you branch out, as you get involved in other things, I also grew up in agriculture, so I had that in my background. He said, as you get involved in other things, just remember, you got to learn it from the bottom up. So when I was getting involved with nursery plants and trying to understand that world a little bit better, and trying to understand the logistics of moving live plants from A to B, from the nursery to the Home Depot or whatever, I had to figure out the trucking part of it. So what did I do? I got my commercial driver's license, and I figured out how to, and I had some experience with the, with all that. So I learned and went a little deeper. Let's see. Good morning. Asked a question on Twitter the other day on how elevation may affect water quality. Evan Hicks gave me some thought. I was curious what your thoughts. JP, did you see my responses to you in that? We'll talk about that in a second. That's a great question, by the way. I love your question. So we're going to get to that. When I get done with the shipping thing, we're going to talk about water. So thank you for putting that in. Okay. Amazing. Good stuff. We're going to get to that. So anyway, this shipping thing, let's get back to the shipping thing a little bit. I want to kind of close this loop. So I got fascinated with logistics. I got fascinated with trucking, transportation, and all that sort of stuff. When I was working with Sierra Pacific Turf Supply, we spent a lot of time talking about, where's this truck? Where's that truck? How do we get this on the road? How do we get that on the road? How do we get it into the warehouse, out of the warehouse, and into the customer's hands? And I was fascinated by all of it, because you can do it right and you can do it wrong, and doing it wrong is damned expensive. It can impact the bottom line in ways you wouldn't believe. Okay, JP. Yeah, look at those things, and I'll cover that. I'll actually go and get in that. I'll get in that thread and I'll read your stuff. Is it okay with you if I read your stuff out loud? Your questions? And we'll just do it that way. If it is, just, give me a yes in chat and that'll be good. Okay. So anyway, we, my ADD brain, sorry guys. I learned a lot about logistics, and I learned a lot about trucking. I learned a lot about truckers. I interacted with a lot of those folks. Very different world than our turf head world, but it impacts us so much, right? And that's what I was talking about. Oh yeah, go for it. Okay, thank you, JP. Thanks for that, man. We'll get to it. Because it's a fascinating question, actually, and it had me dig in pretty hard. At any rate, the bottom line of any operation can be dramatically affected by shipping and receiving and supply chain issues, right? So, a friend in the manufacturing business told me that they produce a product. I don't want to get into the details of it, doesn't matter, but they produce a product and they make that product and then they have to package that product. And one of their packaging suppliers didn't get their shit together, didn't get something, sent to them a certain way. And basically, essentially we're talking about a bottle cap, screwed up their production. And they're waiting for this and they're waiting for this. And it's like, oh, I can't find anything. Right. All right. So let's talk about totes, right? 150 gallon, 175 gallon totes or whatever it is. Evidently the price of those has tripled. And part of that is because the empty totes weren't getting shipped because there were so many other things that were getting shipped and there was so much mess up. And anyway, it's really hard to get empty totes right now. And for some products in our world, you can't reuse a tote. There's just some chemicals that, they eat that plastic and that's it, and especially when you're talking about food grade type stuff, right? It has to be a tote that's never been used before. And there's a certain requirement to get that all sorted. Yeah. So imagine you make a product that you sell in totes. And this is where I'm getting to the fertilizer world or the colorant world or the budding agent world or whatever it may be. You make this product that you sell in totes, but you can't get totes to get it to the customer. See, this is what's going on right now. Okay. The other thing is getting wheels, what we say wheels under it. Like, did you get wheels under that load? Getting a ship under it, getting wheels under it, it's logistics talk. It's harder than ever. There's a shortage of truck drivers because a lot of these companies bled themselves to death, not paying them. And, truckers went off to do other things. Or, the guy who was rolling over the road is now, happier because he's driving a concrete truck, whatever. Saw a lot of that happen. And logistics has changed because of that. There's all this fear and talk about automation. I don't know that we'll see that in our lifetime. We might see it on, on some of the long run interstates, robot trucks and stuff, but it's just bullshit talk right now. Because that, that product has to get from one dock to the other. So yeah, it may start in Chicago and need to go to LA. And there's a lot of miles in between there, but once you get to either one of those cities, the robot's not going to be, dealing with that. So we have a real shipping issue and it's affecting all of us. And a lot of you are going to start feeling that. And you're especially going to start feeling that when you get to, your heavier buying seasons. So early order programs have become big in our business. And, I don't want to tackle because I dealt with early order and I learned a lot about early order and, Don Nauman and Dean Kinney from Sierra Pacific Turf Supply taught me a lot about that world. And, I was focused on agronomy and they were focused on, sales and stuff. And the early order thing was a big part of that world. And especially when you're dealing with agency products and all that. Anyway, I'm not going to go there today, but what I want to talk about the fact is that early order things were really good for some people and not good for other people. For some people, it was a credit card that they should use. For other people, it's a credit card they shouldn't use. And as an agronomy-minded, turf head-minded kind of person, a lot of times I was like, God, dude, don't get involved with this. This is not right for you. But I had to kind of sometimes just, hint at it and let them make the decision. At any rate, what happens in the world of early orders, you're booking things and then it's going to get shipped to you when it gets shipped to you and, possibly for next year. Right. And that's all good. It helps everybody out, helps warehouse space out. It helps transportation out. Hey, I don't have to rush to get a truck underneath this, to get wheels underneath this so I can pay a better freight rate. I can use a different broker. I can use a couple of different brokers to get that done. It's commodity oriented, right? And so now we don't have that. Right? Now that what we don't have is we don't have that ability to do that, and everybody wants everything now. And what that does is it drives the prices up, way up. So we have a supply thing, you have a transportation thing, you have a long haul transportation thing in the shipping world. All of this means what? Big number changes. And so what I'm hearing is that quotes for transportation and all that sort of stuff are good for 24 hours or less. I'm hearing a lot of people scramble to get simple things for their, let's say you have a recipe that depends on a certain chemical, and that chemical comes to you in totes, and you build the product, right? Well, you can't get it. Now what do? You don't build the product, right? You don't say, well, hey, this is the, this is the thing that we have that has no this in it. No. You figure it out, or you got to get it from somebody else or whatever. And so there's some real trouble coming. Why am I talking about this? Because I want you guys, to really sit down and think about your purchasing and what you're going to need coming up in the fall. I know, right? Like it's June 26th and I'm talking about fall purchasing and stuff like that. But you know what? You need to get those orders put in with your suppliers and booked and get the prices set, and possibly even prepaid. I'm telling you, I'm not trying to do the sky is falling thing, but I'm telling you, there is a shipping and receiving and logistics tsunami going on here, and it is going to affect agriculture in a big way, and agriculture includes us. Okay? Because here's what starts happening. In the heavy agriculture areas, when they start picking crops, when they start moving material, when they start producing food and things like that, a huge amount of trucking and logistics and over the road stuff goes to that. And we're left hunting for vehicles, hunting for containers, hunting for all that sort of stuff, right? Because those crops are more valuable. They're more valuable. We saw a little bit of this with cherries and avocados and citrus, right? And I have a family member who's involved in citrus, and another family member who's involved in trucking in Arizona. And he was telling me what a nightmare it is. Talking to me about the whole thing, right? How they were getting their lemons to market. Super difficult this year. Okay, so what is a big agricultural product that we all use, that a bunch of us use in the fall? Grass seed. This is my whole spiel. This is why I'm coming to this. Grass seed. So many people depend on grass seed for so many things in the fall. In the southeast, southwest, and all that, overseeding is a big deal. So what I'm hearing is ryegrass production is down. There's a lot of down production, right? And there's different ways to look at that. So here we go. Supply, demand, shipping. We have demand is there. We have a dwindling supply and tough shipping situation, right? It's always sometimes tough getting seed out of Oregon, in a timely manner. We dealt with it every year at Sierra Pacific, trying to get our seed on the road. Everybody did. They have to, it has to be clean. It has to be processed. There's a ton of steps, right? You gotta, it's very dependent on wheels underneath those loads. And there's no shortcuts with that. Yeah, you can get it onto rail sometimes. You can do some intermodal type things. That has its difficulties. And so I'm telling you guys, that with your suppliers and you guys, you sales folks that are rubbing your hands together thinking, okay, good. Careful about what you wish for. But golf course superintendents, with your suppliers, have legit conversations with them about what their supply situation is. If you're dependent on paint, if you're dependent on wetting agent, water treatment products, anything that comes in a tote, container issues right now are huge. With your suppliers, have those conversations. Please, please, please. Okay? I'm serious. I see it from a lot of different angles. It's one of my things. I kind of love. I love the logistics, man. And I'm telling you, it's a tsunami. Okay. What else do I want to talk about? Well, listen, if you're not following Paul Larson, who is the course manager and all that for the coming Open Championship. And Royal St. George is such a cool place, right? And I'm a fan of Royal St. George. I think it's fabulous. And Paul Larson just seems, I mean, I've never met Paul, but I'm enjoying his communications. If you don't follow Paul on Twitter, you should. He's, just look up LARSEN. It's Paul Larson RSG, Royal St. George. Paul Larson RSG. Follow that account. He's really great about posts. He put a post up this morning. It's beautiful, beautiful. Golf course looks so good. Open Championship coming. I mean, please support this guy. He really is a turf head. So thank you, Paul. If this gets to you, I seriously, I'm in awe of the things that you've done, and I hope one day to get to meet you, and I hope that that meeting happens at Royal St. George, because I really want to see the place. Okay, what else were everybody talking about? Let's see. I want to get down to JP stuff, because we had a great, I don't know, Kevin Van Valkenburg was, ESPN guy, was harassing me yesterday. I don't know when I talk about that. So I was trying to say that golf is pretty important. He was talking about gymnasts and stuff, and I don't know. I probably made my points wrong. Let's see. Let me get through my recipes. Oh, Anthony Bourdain's birthday was yesterday. Had Anthony been alive, I forget how many years young he would be, but I miss that guy. I was lucky enough to have a little bit of conversation with him in email, and it was fantastic. What an influence. What a sad thing. Okay, JP, I'm trying to find your stuff here. Where did it go? I tweet too much, man. Okay, so basically, well, I'm trying to find this through all of my BS. Geez, I post some dumb stuff. Here we go. Here's JP's stuff. This is great, and this is what I love. All right, so JP Price, Purdue Sports Turf, it says on his thing, and he posts this question to myself and to Joel Simmons and to Kevin Hicks, and he says, I love this, so good. He says, I'm interning at a course that's 7,000 feet above elevation. Does that affect enough or exponentially, I guess, that rain falls 7,000 feet less than other places at much lower elevations? Does this play a really big factor when it comes to clean or better rainwater? Okay, so what JP's responding to, and by the way, JP, I love this kind of thinking, man. What he's responding to is, we were talking about rainwater in the podcast that I did with Kevin and Joel, and you can go to the Earthworks. You can find the Earthworks podcast a bunch of different ways, right? Earthworks Turf on YouTube. You can, just hunt. It's there. It's out there. You guys know how to, I don't need to post links and stuff. You know how to get to this stuff. Anyway, we were talking about rainwater, and we were talking, why is it that I can get 1/10 of an inch of rain and golf course looks great, but I can put 1/10 of an inch of irrigation water and golf course doesn't look that great? See, so we were kind of going through all that and talking about why, right? By the way, JP, let me give you a follow and a thumbs up for all this. So JP says, I'm interning at a course that is at 7,000 feet above elevation. Does that affect that enough exponentially, I guess? Rain falls at 7,000 feet. Does that play a big factor when it comes to cleaner, better rainwater? I love this. Obviously, it falls less feet, so it'd get action from lightning, I'd imagine. Maybe too broad of a question, I don't know. But in simple terms, does it have a big enough factor to take notice of? This is such a good question. I love it. And Kevin Hicks, responds right away and says, it's not a dumb question at all. He's talking about water sources and stuff like that, and yeah, so I don't know. He's just trying to kind of, I don't know, Josh Clevenger reaches in and, he says, what course is this? So I'm assuming this is Josh Clevenger's place that JP's interning at. Maybe that's how this works. I didn't pick up on that. Okay. So we were talking about the cleanliness and the ionization of rainwater and kind of how that all works. And I love JP's thinking. He's thinking, well, as this falls, it falls less, so maybe it doesn't ionize as much. All right, here's the truth. And I'm going to simplify this because I'm not good. I don't know how to speak the meteorology terms or whatever, but what happens, right? Steam goes up, moisture goes up, it condenses and it comes down, right? That's what rain is. Rain doesn't just come from outer space and hit the atmosphere and then fall, right? This is a recyclative, is that a word? Recyclative kind of thing. So, it's going up and then it's going back down, right? That's how it works. And cloud bottoms and clouds develop above ground level. So like as a pilot, we talk about where the clouds are developing and stuff like that, right? And we do that at there's various ways to talk about that altitude, right? Is it above ground? Is it, cloud bottoms at 5,000 feet AGL, right? Above ground level, not 5,000 feet altitude. Right? There's different ways to look at that. And you got to know what when you're flying, you got to understand that. And so I understand completely what JP's thinking. He's thinking, well, here's my 7,000 foot floor, and the clouds are but the cloud is building JP, above ground level bottoms and going up from there. So that's why, when you're flying out of Chicago, right? Lower elevations. And then you start to look ahead to the Rocky Mountains and the cloud tops are way higher, even if it's the same kind of cloud cover, right? Because it's rising with the rise of the earth. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, the water's gone up. That's part of the ionization. Now it's falling down. I hear what he's saying, but no, that is not a factor. That's not a factor, bud. But I love your thinking. I do. And I went digging a little bit and I actually reached out to one of the local meteorologists here in Denver who did not get back to me because they're busy people. But somebody that we've used in the Rocky Mountain as a speaker, and he does a ton of weather stuff. I also wanted to send this question to the Weather 5280 guys, to Matt Macon and his guys, who are also Denver weather personalities, but they also do some really cool blog stuff. So weather5280.com. And 5280 represents the Mile High City, right? So I wanted to just, maybe get a little bit more technical, educated response to all this, but I understand exactly what JP was asking, and I think it's fantastic. No, JP, unfortunately, it doesn't matter if it's raining at your 7,000 foot course or at sea level. That water is still gone through its ionization and mineral stripping process and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, man, I was happy to look into that. And I see, you guys, this is the value of Twitter, right? I mean, here's JP Price, and he's interning somewhere, and he turf student, I'm assuming, and he says, hey man, I want to ask a question. I heard this podcast and I want to ask a question. So you put it out there, and nobody's going to make fun of you. I love it. JP, I love it. And if I see you anytime in your career, I hope to be able to buy that first beer. Right? Fantastic. All right. And he's in the chat here too. See, not afraid, no fear, not worrying about his reputation or what he might see. Oh, I don't want to say anything stupid, Dave. Oh shit. Come on. I say stupid stuff 92 times a day. I'm always having to get my feathers out of my teeth and my foot out of my mouth. So yeah, anyway, JP, if I find out any more information, we'll talk about it. Okay, we'll put it out there. We'll put it out there on Twitter. We'll put it out there here. If my weather people respond to me anymore about that, because now I'm fascinated by the whole idea of rainwater ionization, and here's where my brain went with the whole thing. Because some storms are just we had two different kinds of rain going on here last night, right? We had the thunderstorm thing happening, bang, boom, and we also had the nice soft channel rain. It's kind of coming out of the same system. I get it. But is the water coming out of that, out of that gnarly thunderstorm cloud more ionized? Obviously we get hail, right? You know what happens there. The water rises so high, so fast, and it's so cold, it freezes and comes back down. And it's, rocks, right? Ice. So that's hail, right? So when the tops are really high in these storms, the tops have not been that high. We haven't had any hail events yet here. But when it happens in Denver, it friggin' happens, man. I've never seen bigger hailstones than the stuff that can fall here. Devastating. Yeah, people's roofs get wiped out, their cars get wiped out, the whole shopping mall got wiped out. Here. It's a common occurrence, right? Because why? Because we are above, we are at 5,000 feet, and the clouds do climb AGL to a higher overall altitude. And that freezes, and then the shit falls out, right? Water becomes ice. And so yeah, we can get some gnarly hail events here. And it happens in the mountains a lot too. I saw when I was a kid. But a lot of times, there were a couple of years when I lived, 9,000 feet, where it snowed every month. It's just, that's going to be snow. that moisture is coming down as snow, right? So yeah, it snowed every month of the year, a couple of years. One of my high school years, I think it did that. And I worked on the golf course, and yeah, we, July, we get snow. August. Happens. So there's that. Okay. How are we doing on time? I think I've yammered through this whole thing. Chat, anybody got anything for me? Anything you want to say? Please speak up now as we start to wind it down. Okay, so again, the Earthworks podcast, Earthworks Turf. Just start looking for that. It's on YouTube. It's also on Spreaker, I think is the platform they use. Yeah, man, it's catching on because they're doing cool stuff. Kevin Hicks's interview with Randy Booker is a don't miss. Right? And Joel's interview with Troy Flanagan from the Olympic Club is a don't miss. Don't miss what these guys are doing, man. They are putting a lot of effort into content creation, and it's working. And my hats are off to them. And I said this a long time ago, man. I don't see it as competition at all. Make content, put out good information, put it out there. The good stuff is going to rise to the top, right? Some of you guys that want to create a podcast or whatever, do it. That's one of the best lessons that I've learned. Want to do something? Do it. Get on it. I would sit and wring my hands and, should I not? Should I, nobody's going to listen. Nobody's going to listen. People are listening to my stuff. I can't kind of believe it. Every listen counts. All right. So what goes on with me during the week? I will be streaming on Steam every day in the afternoon this coming week. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do about the holiday. I will also be streaming on Steam this weekend, during the day, during the middle of the day on Twitch, streaming on Twitch. And Twitch is known as a gamer's platform, but I talk about everything while I'm gaming and while I'm hanging out and doing my thing. I've been playing Elite Dangerous, which is a space thing, a space simulation about exploration. It's amazing. I've also been playing Final Fantasy 14, which is, how do we put it? Role-playing MMO, massive multiplayer thing. Very cool. Having a lot of fun with that because I'm brand new at it, and I skipped across a bunch of people came to my Twitch stream, and who were like super experienced players, and like, we like you, we like the bear, we think you're cool, and they've kind of taken me under their wing, and it's really nice. And they could give a shit about Turfgrass, which I think is funny. So anyway, you can find me every day on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Wilberforce. And those links are all over the place, so you should be able to find them. And even if you don't, you don't care about the game or whatever, just come hang out. It's cool. The chat is really active, and there's good things hanging out. So I'm really enjoying that. There's a couple other things that I'm brewing that I'm working on. I'm not quite ready to talk about them yet. One of them is tied to my health a little bit, and I don't know exactly how I'm going to relate this story yet because the story's not finished. So I'm not going to be cryptic about it. I just not quite ready to break the seal on that one. Lastly, as we close, I want to encourage all of you as the days get longer. I mean, here we are. Summer solstice just passed us. Please take care of yourselves. Sleep, eat, hydrate. If you're having struggles, if you're finding yourself in a mental state of, too much anger, too much upsetness, not losing sleep, upset, all that sort of stuff, reach out to somebody. Okay. Find me if you need to. I'll be happy to be a good confidential thing. I am not a therapist, but I can point you towards how to find that help. Please be very careful with your mental health. Be mindful. Listen to Paul McCormack's or read Paul McCormack's stuff on TurfNet about being the mindful superintendent. It's not hippie, woo-woo kind of stuff. Like, this is real. Like, you have to take care of your body, mind, and soul. Okay? That's how to get through the summer. And it's going to be a tough summer for a lot of people. It always is. Summer is always tough in our world, regardless of where you are. And I guess you guys that are listening from down under are coming into winter, but you know what I'm talking about. It's just, please take good care of yourself. And if you feel like you're in crisis, reach out for help. Okay? If you feel like you're in real crisis, please reach out for help. I heard a story the other day, not in the turf business, but somebody who committed suicide. And as it turns out, some people knew that they were in trouble and they just kind of didn't speak up. And that's the other side of that, right? Watch your staff, watch your family, watch everybody that's around you. And if there are big changes and there's things that look like that maybe somebody's in some danger, don't be afraid to get near them. And again, I'm not saying be their therapist, but just, check in and find out if something's going on that may need to be addressed. Okay? And that's my world. That's me. That's this episode. I'm watching the chat to see if there's anything else. You guys, no? All right. My chat is so funny here. On Twitch, it's just, even when I have just a few viewers, they're jabbering away. Here on YouTube, it's a different story. Anyway, please have a fantastic week. Please take good care of yourselves. Please remember that, this is a hard lesson, man. This is what I need to learn, that, there is a point where you can't do it all. Okay? All right. Wow. Got a good track behind us. My name is Dave Wilber. My friends call me the Turfgrass Zealot. This has been the Turfgrass Zealot Project. And I am live with this every Saturday. Please feel free to join me. Feel free to share this. And again, please like and subscribe to this YouTube feed so that I can keep doing what I'm doing. Thanks a lot. Take care. I love you all. Bye-bye.